I was just thinking, how can we, I mean, just thinking out the box, how can we take genealogy to the internet in terms of Google Hangouts?
That is a great question. We'll have to brainstorm about that. But I know there are some folks doing some, wonderful hangouts with genealogy, and that's something that I think is just on the cusp of getting started. This is a very exciting forum for collaboration and a medium to do quite a lot of things, and I think that's a wonderful thought. I think there's a lot of potential here.
I was just going to say really quick, Stephen, one other thing, there's actually a really large community here on Google+. And I think it's Dr. Myrtle's genealogy community, I believe is what it's called. Andrew Hatchett is actually part of that. And people are in there all the time. They're collaborating with each other, trying to help people track down their ancestry and different stories and all sorts of things. So there is a rich culture here, actually, that's really interested in genealogy, and actually there's probably quite a few people watching it right now. So might be interesting, definitely, to explore Hangouts with genealogy.
Yeah, that's your Myrtle. That's a wonderful, wonderful group. I love Pat, who runs it.
Now, Erin, that's your new assignment to take this to the next level, right?
Absolutely. Well, that's what I was going to ask, was how you foresee technology in general, not even necessarily Google Hangouts, but how you foresee that helping the genealogy industry in general. Like, how do you? I mean, I know obviously a lot of records are on newspapers and things of that like that, but you look at something, for instance, just doctors' offices and how they're putting everything into the computer systems. I mean, do you already have a system like that in place, or?
Well, I think, what we're talking about, a piece of what we're talking about is genealogy crowdsourcing, which is we have a research problem, and we take it to the internet. We take it to Google+, we take it to, Facebook and Twitter. You say, hey, I'm looking for this. Does anybody have any ideas? And it's a very powerful pooling of expertise, and I really see more of that in the future. And that's a critical component of the future of genealogy, the future of collaboration, both in genealogy and in other fields. I know it's happening as well. And it just gives us more of an opportunity to solve our research problems and find new and unique ways to do things for genealogy, which is a very exciting thing for the future.
Technology is so amazing, so I can only imagine what's going to happen just in the next 5 or 10 years.
I'm very excited about it.
My God, I mean, just think, going back, at least going forward 100 years, 50 years, 25 years, next year, the kind of information that you're going to be able to get because of this digital age is just, I mean, you can basically clone a life, clone a family. And put it out on the internet. It's just, I mean, and the genealogy aspect of it is just extraordinary. I think you're right. I think you do have the best job in the world.
And I would definitely encourage people to, write down everything you know about your family history, because think of it this way, I mean, you know more than your kids or your future grandkids or whatever. You know more than anyone else that may descend from you. And interview older relatives. I mean, get all the information that we can right here and right now, because that is really priceless. Say if an older relative passes away, I mean, they may have known things that nobody else in the family would know. So I would definitely encourage, spend some time with your older cousins and relatives, aunts and uncles. Find out their stories. I always just hit record on my iPhone whenever I'm around my grandfather, because there's always some new element that he tells every time he tells a story, and I know that's the same case with a lot of folks and their grandparents or older relatives.
So in other words, write a journal, so 100 years from now, when somebody like Mary Tedesco is on another show, looking backwards at a family history, we can find something.
Exactly.
Yeah,
we can say, about it. Consulting the journals of Erin Brady and Ben Fisher. So.
Mary, I had a question. Being that you've done so much work in Europe, what would you say is the biggest difference that you've found in Europe versus coming here to the States? Is there something that really stands out, or is it really all kind of similar?
Well, doing business in Italy is different from doing business anywhere else in the world. And anybody that's done business in Italy will definitely agree for me. For example, in Italy, there are not, almost 9,000 ways to do Italian genealogy. That's one for every single tiny little town in Italy. Because research in that country is on the local level. You have to go directly to the parish priest. You have to go directly to the city hall, because that may be the only place where you can find these original records, because the vast majority of genealogical resources that we look for are not online. And so it oftentimes is necessary, not just in Italy, but in other countries in the world, to go on site, to go to the location, to really immerse yourself in the place that your ancestors lived, which is a whole other discussion, a very, very special thing for each person.
Wow. Yeah, I can imagine. I know those little towns, everybody is so tight-knit, and it's got to be quite an experience to kind of go in and see that all firsthand. Yeah.
You know, Andrew Hatchett's bringing up a really good point, and this definitely is for you, Mary, and he's saying that less than 2% of records are online right now. So,
Wow.
I mean, really, when it, I mean, I know you were talking about the team that it takes to really dig up all of this information. So, being that 2% online, I mean, what's kind of the process that you go through to find the kind of information that you do get?
Well, as a lot of genealogists, speaking specifically of our Genealogy Roadshow research team, I mean, we definitely start online. We exhaust resources online, and then we turn to the Family History Library, which was just featured actually on the show yesterday, and we see what's available on microfilm or in other resources out at the Family History Library, and then finally, once everything's been exhausted, we need to go on site to these locations, and for that we incorporate the skills of local researchers in that area, going back to each genealogist's expertise. We find a genealogist that specializes in the local area, in this case New Orleans obviously, that had New Orleans expertise, and they go and either conduct some research or pull some records for us. So that's definitely a huge element of our research process, not just for the show, but for every genealogist does this.
In terms of following my passion, which is internet and the web, is there anything that, say, the general public can do that could maybe help this industry? I know we talked about it a little bit, but is there anything that the public can do that would really help to promote this particular industry and help promote the program?
Well, I would say besides watching Genealogy Roadshow on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m., of course, I would just say, get online, start your family history research, start to get curious. I mean, I ask each of my clients, what are the top 3 things that keep you up at night, that you want to know about your ancestors? And those are the things we answer first. So what are those for each person? What are those for you? What just keeps you up at night and just makes you so curious? And you won't even realize you're doing work to kind of find the answers to those. So I would definitely encourage people to do that.